So this is a continuation of chapter 1, and it's all about when Demelza gives birth to Julia, her daughter. And I'm going to read a part about Ross, who is in Nampara at the moment, and he sent Judd off to fetch Dr. Choke. Ross had been swilling himself under the pump, trying to wash away the megrims of the night. When he came through the house and saw a thick-set figure riding up the valley, he called sharply to Ginny Carter, who came every day to work in the house, and had just arrived. "Is that Dr. Choke?" Ginny bent over her own child, which she brought on her back and kept in a basket in the kitchen. "Yes, sir, he to say the baby won't be afore dinner at the early side, and he say he'll be back by 9 or 10. Ross turned away to hide his annoyance. Ginny looked at him with devoted eyes. "Who helped you with your babies, Ginny?" he asked. "Mother, sir." "Will you go and get her, Ginny? I think I would trust your mother before that old fool." She blushed with pleasure. "Yes, sir, I'll go right off. She'll be that glad to come." She started as if to go, and then looked at her own baby. "I'll see she comes to no harm," Ross said. She glanced at him a moment with pleased embarrassment, and then snatched up her white bonnet and left the kitchen. As the fire began to take, Judd came in, and the wind came with him and rushed round the kitchen. There's something blowing up," he said, eyeing Ross out of the bloodshot eyes. "Seen the long black swell, have ye?" Ross nodded impatiently. There had been a heavy ground sea since afternoon yesterday. "Well, 'tis breaking all ways. Scarcely ever did I see the like. It might be as someone was lashing of 'en with a whip. The swell's nigh gone, and the sea's all licky white like Joe Trigg's beard." "Keep your eye on Kate, Judd," Ross said. "Make some breakfast in the meantime. I'm going upstairs." While he was there, Demelza made a big effort to be normal, but he saw that she wished him gone. He could not help her. Disconsolate, he went down again, and was in time to greet Mrs. Zaki Martin, Ginny's mother, flat-faced, competent, bespectacled, and sneezing. She came into the kitchen with a brood of 5 small children dragging at her heels, talking to them, chiding them, explaining to Ross that she had no one to trust them with. Ginny's 2 eldest and her 3 youngest, greeting Judd and asking after Prudy, commenting on the smell of frying pork, inquiring about the patient, saying she had a touch of ague herself but had taken a posset before leaving, rolling up her sleeves, telling Ginny to put the colewort and motherwort on to brew, they being better than any doctor's nostrums for easing of the maid, and disappearing up the stairs before anyone else could speak. There seemed to be a child on every chair in the kitchen. They sat like timid ninepins at the fair, waiting to be knocked off. Judd scratched at his head and spat in the fire and swore. Ross went back to the parlour. On the table was a bundle of crochet work that Demelza had been doing last night. A fashion paper which Verity had lent her lay beside it. Something new and novel came to them from London. There had never been anything like it before. The room was a little dusty and unkempt. It was 15 minutes after 6. No birds singing this morning. A moment ago a ray of sunlight had fallen across the grass, but had been quickly put out. He stared at the elm trees, which were waving backwards and forwards, as if with an earth tremor. The apple trees, more sheltered, were bending and turning up their leaves. The sky was heavy with racing clouds. He picked up a book. His eyes scanned the pages but took nothing in. The wind was beginning to roar down the valley. Mrs. Zaki came in. "Well, she'm doing brave, Cap'n Ross. Prudy and me'll manage. Don't 'ee worry an inch. 'Twill all be over long afore old Dr. Tummy to come back." Ross put down the book. "Are you sure?" "Well, I've had 11 of my own, and then there's 3 of Ginny's, and I out with 2 of Betty Nanfan's twins, and 4 of Susie Gussie's, the first 3 out of wedlock." Mrs. Zaki hadn't fingers enough to count. "That won't be easy, not like Ginny's was, but we'll do a proper job, never you fear. Now, I'll go and get the brandy, and give the maid a tot of that to ease her up." The house suddenly shuddered under a gust of wind. Ross stood staring out at the wild day, anger with choke rising in him and seeking outlet like a part of the storm. Common sense told him that Demelza would be all right, but that she should be denied the best attention was intolerable. It was Demelza who suffered there, with only two clumsy old women to help her. He went out to the stables, hardly aware of the storm that was rising about them. At the stable door he glanced over Hendrona and saw that clouds of spray had begun to lift off the sea and drift away like sand before a sandstorm. Here and there the cliffs were smoking. He had just got to the stable door open when the wind took it out of his hands, slammed it shut, and pushed him against the wall. He looked up and saw that it would not be possible to ride a horse in the gale. He set off to walk. It was only a matter of 2 miles.